So on Sunday, my Panthers told Brandon's Cowboys to hold that L. No shocker, because Carolina does not lose at home this year, as this is a continuation of what's been a disappointing year for Big D. They're 2-3-1, but if you ask Jerry Jones, all hope is not lost, because you look around the NFC East, he said, quote, "It just reminded me that we are still in it." He also went on to say, when talking about that Micah Parsons trade, because that's still obviously coming up, that alone has increased our flexibility of being able to look at potential trades right now, whereas you might have had hand cramps before. So we're in position to look at a trade. That doesn't mean we're going to make one. What does that mean? I don't know. Hand cramps. What are we saying? I'm not sure.
I apologize.
Hopefully, our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, knows, because he is a ball knower. And now I ask you about Jerry Jones, JJ, because he's not ruling out the potential for a trade before the deadline at some point next month. Do you think the Cowboys will be active?
They could, right? I mean, like right now, everyone could, right? Because you still believe that you're in it. We're in week 7. The Cowboys at 2-3-1. They face the 3-3 Commanders team. If they beat Washington this upcoming week, they're second in the division, right? The Philadelphia Eagles appear to be faltering. The Cowboys could absolutely make a move. If the Cowboys keep giving up 40 points per game, if they lose to Washington like they just lost to Carolina, well, then things start to change, and that continues on until we get to the November 4th trade deadline. So I don't see the Cowboys being active right now. And then you also have to consider, as we see their schedule right there, they're going to know really well whether they are contending or not after that Monday Night Football game against the Cardinals. The Cowboys, while they have 2 first-round picks, we know that, one from, of course, the Micah Parsons trade, one being their own. They don't have a 3rd-round pick because of the George Pickens trade. They don't have a 6th-round pick because of the Jordan Phillips trade a while ago. And so, other than that one first-rounder, they don't have much draft capital. In fact, they have less draft capital outside of the first round than most teams. So they don't have too much to play around with. Then you say, all right, well, clearly they need help defensively, right? And maybe it's just scheme. Maybe they need to get some of their injured guys back. Maybe they need to figure out how to play in Matt Eberflus's scheme a little bit, or maybe they just need to stop making mistakes. But when you consider their cap situation beyond this year, because they do have cap space this year, if you're going to send a first-round pick somewhere, you're getting a player who will be on your team in 2026 and 2027. And I don't know, with their roster construction and where their cash and cap allocation is, whether that's going to be the best thing for them, right? So he keeps talking about having this first-round pick, but financially, does that make sense for them to use it before the trade deadline for the years to come? It doesn't. Let me go ahead and answer that question. But then you really don't have that much day 2, day 3 draft capital to go get the guy to be that one-year rental.
Yeah, as you led to the idea of picks and giving them away and the George Pickens trade, that brings me over to Pickens, because at least on field, that's working pretty well for them. Pickens is 3rd in receiving yards in the NFL. He's tied for the most in TDs. Is it time to say, okay, let's go ahead and lock him up and make sure we have our wide receiver along there forever?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for a number of reasons. First of all, George Pickens developed a reputation that he earned in Pittsburgh. And while he has been on great behavior and everyone in Dallas raves about him, it also has been 6 games. And so do you believe that the reason that Pittsburgh got rid of him no longer exists anymore in Dallas? If so, okay, maybe you pay him. Consider again, we just talked about the cap and cash allocation. They're paying CeeDee Lamb as one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. George Pickens is going to command somewhere around $25 million per year at least. And then, do you have that money in 2026 and beyond? Right now they don't. They'd have some roster and salary conversions to make that space. You don't necessarily worry about that. But there's only so much that a team can do. How much money are you going to devote to the quarterback, the highest paid quarterback in person in NFL history, and CeeDee Lamb, and then George Pickens, right? So that's going to be a bit of an issue. And you don't really want to extend guys during the season, because what happens if injury takes place and you have locked that player into a certain number for 2026, and they may not be able to play week 1 or even any of the season. So for a number of reasons, that's why teams don't like to negotiate at least big contracts during the season. And so I think some teams will keep a very close watch on what the Dallas Cowboys do with George Pickens. I cannot see them trading him before the trade deadline. Win or lose, let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Is it possible that come March he winds up walking in free agency for nothing? Maybe. And then, of course, there is the option of tagging George Pickens, keeping that big number on your cap, $25 or so million, and either figuring out a long-term extension or potentially trading him from there. But getting an extension done right now with George Pickens, even though times are great, I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, we showed that graphic with the quote from Jerry Jones talking about potentially having to pay a wide receiver like Pickens at that level of what he might command and need to figure out all the financials of that side of the thing. When we talked about the NFC East, you said how the Cowboys feel like they're still in it. Giants might think that they're in it still as well. They're sitting at 2-4 and at least feeling good with the rookie duo of Dart and Scatterboo. Do you think they're in the market to make some moves and maybe improve themselves?
I do. I do think that the Giants could absolutely make a move before the November 4th trade deadline. And, of course, that move would very likely be at wide receiver. We know, of course, that Malik Neighbors out for the season after tearing his ACL a couple of weeks ago. They've been struggling at wide receiver. They wanted a wide receiver before Malik Neighbors went down. But now, of course, Malik Neighbors is down, and it's not just that, but they have aspirations for this season. But also, there are warm seats out there for the New York Giants, and they need to show and prove that Jackson Dart is that guy. They want to help Jackson Dart's development. There are a number of reasons why they want to bring in a wide receiver. Let me point you to the guy right there on the left, Chris Olave. You know, that's someone who does make a lot of sense. I know there's some talk of Rashid Shaheed with the New Orleans Saints potentially going somewhere. With the Giants, if you're going to make this deal, you don't want a rental. You want somebody who can be there next year and the year beyond that. Chris Olave, his contract, that does make some sense there. Jacoby Myers, of course, you'd want to have to pay Jerry Jeudy. I don't know that Cleveland's going to get rid of him for the exact same reason that the Giants want help for Jackson Dart. They want Dylan Gabriel and or Shedeur Sanders to have a complement of weapons on that side. So Chris Olave is someone of that sort of graphic that we just showed, someone who under contract this year and next year, you know, there is a medical history there, sure, but you can find someone to help out Jackson Dart to continue maximizing his rookie year, and then you have them in 2026 when Malik Neighbors is fully healthy.
Speaking of help, Jonathan Taylor has been a huge help for the Colts this year, probably a big reason that they're 5-1 and Indiana Jones balling out and playing the way that he is. Taylor's deal, though, runs to next year. We talk about running backs because it's a hot button topic. How much do you pay them? How much do you not pay them? What do you see as the risk and rewards of an extension for JT?
So he signed a 3-year, $42 million extension last year, and so next year will be the end of that. As long as he keeps playing this way, the Indianapolis Colts would certainly want to offer him an extension at some point this upcoming offseason. One of the things that has become in vogue, thanks to the San Francisco 49ers and Christian McCaffrey, followed up by the Baltimore Ravens and Derrick Henry, are these 2-year extensions. McCaffrey got 2 years, average of $19 million per in new money that was attached to his existing contract. Derrick Henry got 2 years, $30 million, so $15 million per attached to the end of his deal. You know, Derrick Henry was on the other side of 30 or right at 30 at that point. Christian McCaffrey at that sweet, ripe age of 27 there for running backs, and that's around the age that you're getting Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. And so that's the thing, is that you're not seeing the 5-year deals for running backs, 4-year deals even for running backs, because of the conversation we've had for years about how running backs are fungible. If you don't believe that, the injury rates are quite high. We know that play starts to slip at 29, 30 years old, so you don't lock yourself into that, right? Bang for your buck about getting a running back in the 5th round versus paying one. But Jonathan Taylor continues to prove that he is different. And there's a handful of those guys in the NFL. McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, obviously Alvin Kamara, and Jonathan Taylor is absolutely in that conversation. So some sort of new money average, at least 15, getting up to $16 or $17 million per year. Hey, as long as he keeps having the season he's having, there's no reason why the Colts wouldn't and shouldn't do that this offseason.
Yeah, money coming in with production like that. JJ, appreciated it as always. The ball knower, we like having you on, and we like seeing you on Joe Musso's show on Sundays as well. Brandon, what's up? Joe Musso, B-Mac, JJ. Game Day Reset Sundays at 4 Eastern. You can catch them with that action every Sunday.